Hi everybody, it's Taiwan and I'm back with a review for Damnation Season 1, Episode 2, Which Side Are You On? So this episode pretty much starts off where we left off. On the last episode, we saw Seth coming in and washing his hands after he did whatever he did, hang Sam's body at the bank. And so he's just kind of hosing off in the yard and talking to Amelia, his wife. I did try to learn as many character names as I could learn for this review and recap. And so, yeah, he's talking to her, and she's kind of worried that he's going to be suspected as the one who did this, but just says that they're going to think it's that strike breaker. And I was concerned when he said that because I'm guessing that at this point, he hasn't told her that the strike breaker is his brother. Um, so anyway, again, I'm really curious to know what their history is. And um, she asked him, what did it feel like, hanging Sam's body, I guess, or touching his body. And he said that it felt like touching God. And that was kind of chilling to me. So then we get to another scene with Bess and Creeley. They're back at the whorehouse in her room, and she's asking him what kind of mother could have raised the two of those sons. And he kind of dismissed it in his speech, but to look at his face, it seemed like whatever that question was, it struck a chord with him. And then there's a knock on the door, and I guess it's the whore that who used to be in that room, because she mentioned something about how her room was redecorated. She comes in with the scoop about what's happening in town, and tells Creedy to pay her for the information that somebody has strung up Sam's, or that farmer's body at the bank. And uh, and he's basically, I guess, just trying to get whatever information that he can out of her. He asks her what the sign said. She told him to ask, Bess, she's your reader. Now, I don't know if she didn't know what the sign said, or if she just didn't want to tell him because she would rather him deal with Bess, because maybe she's upset that Bess got her room. I didn't really understand the um, kind of beef, I guess, between the two of those ladies. So Creeley tells Bess he's going to need her brain to ride into town with him. And when we get to town, we see the young reporter, whose name I still have not learned. If you know it, please put it in the comments. He is going around asking the question of the title of this episode, which side are you on? And getting everyone's take. And it's just different depending on who he's dealing with, but everyone's pretty much saying that they want peace. Looks like maybe he is going to try to take a stand and write this story, but we also find out later that he says he's going to write about it in his novel, and he might not even be able to write about it in the newspaper because, like we said, that it does seem like the newspaper boss is kind of in on what's going on. So then we get a quick meetup with Sheriff Don and Creeley in town, and Sheriff Don asking him, well, telling him, I know that you said you shot him in self-defense. Okay, I understand that, but why'd you string his body up here? And Creeley suggesting to him that, that does look kind of Christ-like, and maybe whoever did it um, might have had basically some kind of religious symbolism behind the reason as to why they did it. So already we see him trying to plant the seed in his head that it's not him, but his brother. And next we have Bible study with no Bibles. I don't know if this was on a Sunday, but they're back at the church, and Seth has his congregation, or at least, for sure the farmers in there, riling them up to take out revenge, or to avenge Sam Riley's death. And they're all with him. They're ready to break some fucking backs, as they said. And walking out of the church, things look fine, and they're kind of just talking. And then some of those, I think they're called Black Legion guys, roll by and just start shooting. And with the same black guy who took his hat off in season 1, he gets shot like in the shoulder, And I think that some other people probably got hit, but you see everybody ducking and running for cover except for Pastor Seb. He looks very calm and very steady, gets his gun, uh, gets his aim, a good aim, and fires off a shot that hits one of those guys on that truck. And then we have the young reporter asking, okay, like, my God, what kind of, pastor knows how to shoot like that, And I guess Seth says something to the effect of, like one who's prepared. So, more trouble in paradise. So now we have Bess in the office of the newspaper boss, owner, editor, I don't know, and she's paying him to have his paper delivered to her room at the brothel, and he's, not wanting to do it, but she puts some money down on the table, and I guess, money talks, so he agrees to it. And then she also slides in some money, I guess basically to bribe him to be sure that the way that Sam Riley's death is printed in his paper as just a case of self-defense, which is what, Creeley's been saying. And with the right amount of money, it looks like he's going to agree to do that too. And then we have Creeley roll by to pick her up from there and asks her, what did that sign say? And she let him know. The sign read, what side are you on? Or which side are you on? Or was it whose side? Which side are you on? Then we had a very weird scene with Sheriff Don and Amelia, and basically the whole point of it was for him to tell her that he needs to talk to Seb. Weird thing with the basket and the biscuit that he said was dry or whatever. It was really gross seeing him spit that biscuit out. But and then we also get Preston and Seb. I think that was Preston and Pastor Seb walking down, trying to track, I guess, who Seb shot when those Black Legion guys rolled by on the church service. Then we see our favorite ride or die pastor's wife, Amelia. She goes out to this river, lake, some water source, and with the hammer, I guess it's not really a weapon, but yeah, because he was already dead. So the evidence in her basket, and she goes and tosses it in the water. We see her toss it in the water. Yay, Miss, ride or die. But we see it. Creeley also sees it too. And so here we go, right? Then we get a scene with some men rolling by who say that they are on their way to Detroit to help with the auto strike. The farmers aren't really buying it. Nobody feels easy about it. But Pastor Seth says, if they are strikers, he in fact offers them weapons. And if they're not strikers, one of those mysterious men says, and what if we're not? Seth says, then you need to get out of town. So I don't know if we're going to see those guys again or what's going to happen next with them. Then we get the banker, Calvin Rumpel, and this Martin Eggers Hyde PhD, whose name we've been hearing. They meet at what looks like a very swanky or posh restaurant, and they're sitting at that table looking like a villain and a supervillain, and discussing, I guess, the farmers, and basically Martin Hyde, the PhD, is leading the conversation and talking about how how the farmers are bankrupting themselves by not evolving with the times and how soon they'll be replaced by machines. So it just looks like there's definitely an agenda against these farmers. Then we see the poor, innocent Sam Riley Jr. behind bars, basically pleading for some justice in this case, and he says something along the lines of, if you don't give it to us, we'll get it ourselves. And Sheriff Don just dismissing him, making his way from his speakeasy to the brothel where he sits down with the madam and has a talk with her about the cowboy, Creeley, who he lets her know that he doesn't like because he feels like he's bad for business. She lets him know that she does like him because he pays and his money is good. And apparently there was another investigator type guy, someone else who came around and made trouble for him, and he lets her know that if the cowboy continues on this path of making trouble for him, that he'll have to dispose of his body the same way he did that other guy. Now we're back in Kentucky with Connie at the miners' strike, and she's still very much on her mission to find Seth. And she approaches his house where there's a little girl, and she lures her outside with a basket that has a doll, and it looks like maybe some other toys are in it, and gets the little girl, I guess, basically out of harm's way, to go in there and talk to the three men who are there and tell them, that she wants to help their cause and wants to know what she can do. And of course, them just being, I guess, manly men or jerks, oh, well, yeah, we can definitely use your help. We need someone to do the cooking and cleaning around here. And she plays along with it until she finds a table where she approaches two guns, picks them both up, and shoots two of the guys dead with one shot each. And while the last man standing is trying to get his gun to reload, she's asking him, do you have information on this man, on Seth and his whereabouts? He's just telling her to go back to hell where she came from, and she ends up shooting him too. Goes outside, and then we see the little girl come back in. She's got the toys, and she finds her dad and I guess probably the other two men laying dead, and she's of course scared, crying, screaming, and she has no one to run to except for crazy Connie. So God bless this little girl. I don't know if we're going to see more of her. So now we have Bess driving Creeley to Seth's house, and she's asking him, I think she's just as curious as I am about their history, and she says, did y'all always hate each other? And he says, no, at one point we were all that we have, we were all that each other had. And she asked him what went wrong, and I forgot what he said. He gave a really general answer. Maybe he just said everything. But he goes into their house and starts snooping around, looking everywhere, and finally finds whatever it is that he's looking for under some drawer that he pulls out. Something that he's found is definitely of interest to him. And then the next thing that we see is Seth and the farmers walking in slow motion through town, so they mean business, right? And they're basically protesting. They have their signs, they have their guns, they have their serious looks on their faces, and Seth is just, making their case and trying to make it heard, why they're doing what they're doing, and saying that, the farmers need to be getting a fair price for their goods, that the prices that they're having to sell, then they can't even afford to do that, so, we're gonna starve y'all out, or else y'all are going to, listen to our demands. So we'll see what happens. And of course, while Seth and the farmers were in town, the reporter, he sees what's going on, and I think that it's probably the most excitement that he's seen in that town since he's been reporting, so he's running out, to see what's going on. And then the next thing that we see is Amelia and Sam Riley's wife, and Sam Riley's wife asks her, is Seth the one who did it? And we see that Amelia is getting ready to beat around the bush and to, kind of try to give some excuse. And Sam Riley's wife just says, what, if he did it, I'm glad that he did. And, I hope that he does basically whatever he needs to do to bring these SOBs down. I wasn't along with it at first because I've always just kind of been, I was brought up well, was taught to be quiet, to shut up, to not really voice my opinion on anything. She was taught to be a woman the way that women were taught to be at that time. And, but she says, at this point that something needs to be said, something needs to be done. Her husband is dead, her son is in jail, and now the farm is getting foreclosed on. God bless this woman. So Seth is in town square, still making the case for the striking farmers, and we see very clearly whose side the reporter is on, or at least whose side it looks like he's on now. and he notices that there's a like shooter, I guess, like in the second story, I think of the butcher shop, he said, and Seth gets the signal and tells Preston to take over, and Preston looks like very put on the spot and probably not feeling like the most eloquent public speaker, but goes on and takes over, and that gives Seth time to get away and to get up to where that man is and to make him think that he's got a shot on him. He had some kind of bag with something red in it that the man shot and saw, blood or something red on the floor, but when he looks up and sees Seth, he realizes that it didn't quite go the way he thought that it did, and Seth gets him on the ground and, um, you know, tries to get some information from him, and I know he injured him very badly, and it looks like he was getting ready to kill him until he saw, like, basically a cross on the wooden board on the ground or on the floor from the way that I guess the sunlight was reflecting into the room, and he decided against it. It seems like he's kind of maybe a killer by nature, and that might have been a hard decision for him to make at that time, but he does get for that man to agree to tell him all of the moves of the Black Legions, basically, or else. Okay, then we get to what was probably the most shocking scene in this episode for me, and that was back at the brothel. We have Bess going through the newspaper clippings and cutting things out, and she has everything kind of just sprawled on her bed, and then she gets a knock at the door. She throws her covers over the newspaper and answers the door, and it's Sheriff Don. And he comes in, and he's asking her questions about Creeley, and she just goes into the most vulgar conversation that she could probably ever have. I think even for a whore, to say some things that she was saying, basically talking about how Creeley does her in every orifice in her body, and sometimes it's pretty rough. And but anyway, all of this, I guess, to piss off her dear old dad, and she does that. So yeah, her dear old dad, right? That surprised me too. The sheriff is just full of surprises, you guys. I did not see that coming. It was surprising to me. It was surprising enough to me that this woman, the only black prostitute in the brothel, was the one who could read. But now she is also the half-black daughter of the sheriff in town, and I wonder if we're going to find out some information about her mother. I guess we know that she could prepare better biscuits than Amelia, but that was a shocking one to me. So looking forward to see more about this daddy-daughter dynamic. Then finally, the last scene, we see Creeley posted up at Seth's house, Seth and Amelia's house, when Amelia gets there, just kind of sitting at the kitchen table, and he leads her to believe by showing her this picture of Seth with another woman that I guess she might be in some danger as this woman in the picture was, and he just tells her that he wants her to live. And so that's why he's doing what he's doing. Now, I don't know if something really did happen, because like we already know that Seth and Amelia don't know anything about, or don't know much about each other's past. And, she lets him know that she's going to believe her husband over him, over Creeley. But I'm wondering if there's some truth to what Creeley's saying. He's just not saying everything, or is it all a lie just to put some kind of doubt in her head, and to, not allow Seth to have an ally. I don't know what's going on, but she took the picture and she hid it. So I just have a feeling that we probably won't get whatever that was, what's going on in that situation. That probably won't be resolved next week. You guys, I give this episode an A+. Just like last week, I'm waiting for next week already. I'm so excited about this show, and I want to know what you think about the show in the comments. Anything that I might have gotten wrong about this review and recap, put it in the comments and let me know. thank you for watching. Again, hey, if y'all want to talk about it, let's get a discussion going. I'll put my Twitter and my email in the description bar under this review. And also, there is another channel that I know that's reviewing this show. It is Smackin', Crackin', and Watchin'. That's the name of her YouTube channel. So if you just love the show so much and you just want to continue to see things about it, then don't forget, I think that there might be some more people reviewing it, but she's one of the ones I found, and her reviews are about 10 minutes long, they seem to be. I've got to watch her second one, and so yeah, go over there and watch that. I'll probably even put a link to her channel as well. But in case I forget, it's Smacking, Cracking, and Watching. Smacking, Cracking, and Watching. That's the name of her channel. So anyway, for this one, like, comment, subscribe, share. If you like my YouTube review, again, I just have to sign off and show y'all my Damnation notebook. Oh, I had better lighting last time. I don't have my overhead lights on. But I haven't used it yet. I don't know what I'll use it for. Little 1930s style journal type thing. If you have any suggestions for what I should use my journal for, or if I shouldn't use it at all, put that in the comments too. But thank you so much for watching, and let's just stick together. I'm excited about this show. I'm excited to see where it goes. I love, just all these little twists and turns that we've had so far, only 2 episodes in. So let's see what happens. Let's stick together. Thank you again for watching my review, and I'll see you on next week. Bye-bye.